There are moments in life when you realize love isn't loud anymore. It doesn't shout. It doesn't chase. It doesn't beg to be seen. It just sits there, patient, honest, waiting for you to finally tell the truth. This video, the one, was never about proving anything to the world. It was about stopping the lie you kept telling yourself, the lie that you were fine, the lie that silence was safer than honesty, the lie that love should be hidden if it hurts too much to explain. Real love doesn't ask you to disappear. It asks you to show up, especially when your voice shakes. There's a version of you in that video who isn't performing. He isn't pretending to be strong. He's just tired of running from what he already knows. Tired of carrying love like a secret instead of a responsibility. Tired of choosing comfort over courage. And maybe the hardest truth of all is this: love doesn't change your life in one dramatic moment. It changes it quietly through the choices you keep making when no one is watching. This isn't a story about perfection. It's about commitment after disappointment. It's about staying when leaving would be easier. It's about choosing love even when love has already wounded you. If you're watching this, listening to this, or feeling this, it's not because you're weak. It's because somewhere inside you, something still believes love is worth doing right. Love doesn't announce itself the way people expect it to. It doesn't always arrive with fireworks or certainty or a clear promise that everything will be easy from here on out. And that's the first truth most of us learn too late, because real love usually enters quietly, almost unremarkable at first. And it stays not because it feels good every moment, but because it asks something of you that fantasy never does. It asks you to stay present when the excitement fades, to remain honest when silence feels safer, and to keep choosing when the world keeps offering exits. Commitment isn't a chain, and it isn't a sacrifice of self. It's a decision to stop running from depth, because running is easy and depth is work. And love, real love, has always been work, not exhausting work, not painful work by default, but conscious work, the kind that forces you to look at your own patterns, your own fears, your own reflex to withdraw when things feel uncertain, because commitment begins the moment you realize that love isn't here to complete you, it's here to reveal you, and that revelation is uncomfortable. When you're not ready to be seen, most heartbreak doesn't happen because love wasn't real. It happens because commitment was misunderstood, because one person thought love meant constant happiness while the other understood it as consistency, because one person wanted reassurance and the other offered presence, and neither knew how to translate their language without feeling rejected. And so they drifted, not loudly, not angrily, but slowly, quietly, through unspoken expectations and unmet needs that were never voiced because vulnerability felt too risky. Commitment is not staying because you're afraid to be alone. It's staying because you understand that intimacy deepens through endurance, through shared responsibility, through choosing to repair instead of escape. And that choice doesn't come from obligation. It comes from respect. Respect for what you've built, respect for the person standing in front of you, and respect for yourself as someone capable of loving beyond impulse. Love that lasts is rarely glamorous. It's made of ordinary moments, stitched together by intention. It's listening when you'd rather defend yourself. It's apologizing without keeping score. It's holding space for another person's pain without trying to fix it just to make your own discomfort go away. And this is where many people confuse commitment with loss, because commitment asks you to slow down, to be accountable, to show up even when you're tired. And in a world addicted to instant gratification, slowing down feels like giving something up. But what you're really giving up is the illusion that love should always feel effortless. The truth is, love becomes meaningful the moment it costs you something, not your dignity, not your freedom, but your ego, your need to always be right, your habit of walking away when things stop feeding your pride, because commitment is the quiet strength to say, I'm here, and I'm not leaving just because this moment is uncomfortable. And that strength isn't loud. It doesn't need witnesses. It lives in consistency, in reliability, in the way someone learns your silence as carefully as your laughter. There's a version of love that's about intensity, and it burns fast, and there's another version that's about depth, and it warms slowly, and the second one doesn't feel dramatic enough for people who equate love with chaos. But it's the only one that survives time, because time doesn't reward passion alone. It rewards patience, understanding, and the willingness to grow together instead of apart. Commitment also means accepting that the person you love will change, and so will you. And love isn't about freezing each other in the version you first fell for. It's about learning who they're becoming and deciding again and again to walk alongside that evolution, even when it challenges your comfort, even when it forces conversations you'd rather postpone. Because postponing truth is how distance grows, and distance, once normalized, becomes loneliness even in the presence of someone you love. Many people leave relationships not because love is gone, but because they never learned how to stay when love transformed, because they expected permanence without participation, forgetting that commitment is an active process, not a passive state, and like anything alive, it requires attention and honesty to survive. Love doesn't promise you won't be hurt, but commitment promises you won't be alone in the hurt if both people are willing to remain open. And that openness is what scares us, because to stay open is to risk being seen in your weakest moments, your insecurities, your doubts, your fears of not being enough. And commitment asks you to trust that the person you love won't use those moments against you. And when that trust has been broken before, staying feels dangerous, but avoiding commitment doesn't protect you. It only delays intimacy. Real commitment is not dramatic loyalty declarations or grand gestures. It's consistency when no one is applauding. It's showing up the same way on ordinary days as you do on special ones. It's choosing honesty over harmony when silence would only create resentment. It's understanding that love isn't proven by intensity but by endurance. And endurance doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or neglect. It means engaging, communicating, repairing, and knowing when something can be healed and when it can't. Commitment also means recognizing your own responsibility in love, not just what you receive, but what you give, not just how you're treated, but how you treat, because love is not a transaction. It's a shared practice. And when both people practice with sincerity, growth becomes possible even after disappointment. There's a quiet maturity in understanding that love won't save you from yourself, but it will walk with you while you learn how to face yourself honestly. And that's where commitment becomes sacred, not because it's perfect, but because it's intentional, because two people are choosing to build something real in a world that keeps telling them to replace instead of repair, to move on instead of lean in, to chase novelty instead of depth. Commitment is not about losing your individuality. It's about offering your individuality to something greater than your own comfort, and trusting that love, when rooted in respect, will never ask you to shrink, only to soften, to listen, to evolve. The truth about love and commitment is that they don't complete your life. They deepen it. They don't eliminate struggle. They give struggle meaning, and they don't promise permanence without effort. They invite you into a daily choice, a daily yes, even on days when your heart feels heavy, your patience feels thin, and your faith feels tested, because that's where love stops being a feeling and becomes a practice. And that practice, when done with humility, emotional intelligence, and quiet strength, is what turns connection into home. Healing is not the moment you stop feeling pain. It's the moment you stop letting pain decide who you become. And that distinction matters more than most people realize, because too many hearts stay wounded not because love failed them, but because they never gave themselves permission to heal honestly, without rushing, without pretending, without turning survival into a personality. Healing doesn't arrive all at once. It arrives in fragments, in late nights when memories resurface uninvited, in quiet mornings when you realize the isn't as sharp as it used to be, in the small choices you make to stay open even after your trust has been tested, And real healing begins the moment you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me about how I love, how I attach, how I protect myself, and how I avoid vulnerability when it feels too close to the truth? Forgiveness is often misunderstood as excusing what hurt you, but forgiveness is not about erasing the past or minimizing the damage. It's about refusing to let the past keep dictating your future. It's about releasing yourself from the weight of carrying resentment into spaces where it no longer belongs. And sometimes forgiveness isn't something you offer another person right away. Sometimes it's something you give yourself first, for not knowing better at the time, for loving deeply even when it left scars, for staying too long or leaving too soon, for believing in promises that couldn't be kept, because self-forgiveness is often the bridge between heartbreak and emotional maturity. Choosing someone daily is not romantic in the way movies portray it. It doesn't come with background music or dramatic speeches. It comes with patience when misunderstandings repeat themselves. It comes with compassion when old wounds resurface unexpectedly. It comes with the humility to admit when your reactions are shaped more by past pain than present reality. And it comes with the courage to say, I'm still here, not because everything is perfect, but because the connection is worth tending to. Healing within a relationship is different from healing alone because it requires transparency. It requires letting someone see the parts of you that flinch before they're touched, the parts that go quiet instead of confront, the parts that learned early on that love could disappear without warning. And choosing someone daily means choosing to communicate those fears instead of acting them out through distance, silence, or self-sabotage. Forgiveness within love doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means remembering without letting the memory poison the present. It means allowing growth to take the place of punishment. And that's not easy because the mind wants guarantees before the heart reopens. But love has never offered guarantees. It only offers opportunity, the opportunity to show up differently, to respond instead of react, to listen instead of assume, and to build trust slowly through consistency rather than words. Choosing someone daily also means understanding that some days you choose them with ease, and other days you choose them with effort. And effort does not mean the love is weak. It means the love is conscious, because unconscious love runs on habit and expectation, while conscious love runs on intention and awareness. And awareness asks you to notice when you're projecting old pain onto a present partner, when you're holding them accountable for wounds they didn't cause, and when you're expecting them to heal what only you can address within yourself. Healing teaches you that love is not meant to rescue you. It's meant to walk with you while you learn how to stand on your own. And that balance is delicate because leaning too much creates dependence, while leaning too little creates isolation. And choosing someone daily is about finding that middle ground where two people support each other without disappearing into each other. Forgiveness also includes forgiving love itself for not being what you thought it would be, forgiving the illusion that love should always feel safe, always feel certain, always feel rewarding, because love is a living thing, and living things grow, shed, stretch, and sometimes hurt as they expand. And healing is learning to stay present through that expansion without closing your heart every time discomfort appears. There's a quiet strength in choosing softness after pain, in choosing vulnerability after betrayal, in choosing communication after silence. And that strength doesn't come from optimism. It comes from wisdom, the kind earned through experience, through loss, through realizing that guarding your heart too tightly also keeps love from reaching you fully. Choosing someone daily means choosing to believe in their capacity to grow while also holding boundaries that protect your own emotional well-being, because love without boundaries becomes self-abandonment, and boundaries without love become walls. And healing is learning how to build doors instead, doors you can open and close with intention rather than fear. Forgiveness is not linear. Some days you feel at peace, other days the hurt returns unexpectedly. And that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. And choosing someone daily includes choosing patience with the healing process itself, understanding that progress is not measured by the absence of pain, but by the presence of awareness, by how quickly you recognize old patterns and choose a different response. Healing also reshapes how you see commitment, because once you've been hurt, you understand that staying is not the same as settling, and leaving is not always the same as strength. And choosing someone daily is not about endurance at all costs. It's about mutual effort, mutual respect, and mutual willingness to grow. Because love cannot be sustained by one person carrying the emotional labor alone. Forgiveness within love also means winning go of the need to win every argument, to be validated at the expense of understanding, because healing teaches you that connection matters more than ego, and that being heard often requires listening first. And choosing someone daily is choosing the relationship over the temporary relief of being right. There is a version of love that avoids conflict, and it feels peaceful until it becomes distant. And there is another version that engages with conflict thoughtfully, respectfully, and courageously. And that version deepens trust over time because it shows both people that the relationship can hold honesty without breaking. Healing is realizing that love is not about finding someone who never hurts you, but about finding someone willing to repair when hurt happens, because repair is where trust is rebuilt, not imperfection. And choosing someone daily is choosing to participate in that repair rather than withdrawing when things get hard. Forgiveness also asks you to release the fantasy of who you thought someone would be and accept who they are becoming, because clinging to expectation is one of the quiet ways love suffocates, and healing is allowing reality to replace illusion without bitterness. Choosing someone daily means waking up and deciding to be emotionally present, not just physically there. It means asking questions instead of making assumptions. It means noticing when your partner is struggling, even when they don't have the words for it, and offering presence instead of pressure, because love grows in safety, not scrutiny. Healing ultimately teaches you that love is not proven by intensity, but by steadiness, not by grand gestures, but by consistent care. And forgiveness is not forgetting the past. It's learning from it without letting it define every future interaction. And choosing someone daily is choosing to believe that growth is possible, that people are capable of change when met with accountability and compassion, and that love, when practiced with patience and emotional maturity, can become a place of healing rather than harm, a place where two imperfect people learn how to show up better, not just for each other, but for themselves.